Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Everyone doing all right? I hope you are. Been a few funny days, honestly. Last week's been nuts. Not in crypto or like not in Coinland, but the NFT's been going insane. So a little bit has changed, but not too much, chart-wise anyway. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let me know if everything works. I think it should. Um, and yeah, before I start the show, I want to thank today's sponsor, or like everyday sponsor, or whatever you want to call it, which is FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio. They have an excellent mobile app that you should check out, where you can trade from one altcoin into the other pretty seamlessly without leverage. So that's something I can recommend without feeling bad about myself, because most people that trade leverage get wrecked, right? Good place for beginners. I actually got my family, like Fred always memes about it, but I actually got my family to use it as well. So there you go. Links to that are in the description if you want to check it out. If not, it's also fine. Loom's NFTs going crazy. Yes. I'm an advisor, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But yeah, love to see it. I mean, I own a bunch. My NFT portfolio has been going nuts, like legitimately all season nuts, as in multiples, relatively irregular. It's actually insane. Just wish I put more money in, but got enough to not feel sad about it. Okay, let me see what you guys want to chat about today, or like if you have any recommendations or anything you want to hear about, let me know. I read it while or after I go through Bitcoin, and then we can see what's up. Do you mainly use log more than linear charts? I use log just because it's easier to draw levels. Look at this. This is still fine, right? But if you start zooming out, it just gets all wonky. For me, log or non-log makes no difference because I'm not using diagonals. If you use diagonals, you gotta be a little bit careful, right? You can say, okay, this is the downtrend on the log chart, and you see what happens when I turn the log chart off. It's completely all over the place, right? So you kind of have to decide whether you want to use log or not when you use diagonals. If you use horizontals, it doesn't really matter. I from time to time switch around. Like when I want to show how bearish this is, I usually turn off log because it looks fucking hideous. And then it depends on my mood really, but it makes no difference to me. So yeah, let me quickly run through Bitcoin and then we can chat about everything else. So as I tweeted about, I think on Monday, I sold my bottom buys on Bitcoin. Sold that into weekly resistance. I'll show you in a bit. But before I do that, we are at high time frame support, right? Finally, we approach the 35, 36K support, which is monthly support. That's not something you want to be too bearish into, right? It just doesn't make much sense because this is the last high time frame support that we've got. If this fails, the next high time frame support, at least according to my system, is all the way down at 14K. And that's so far away that you might as well punt 30K-ish, right? Because if you're wrong, you get out and you just buy either 14K or reclaim of the support, right? So either, like, let's say, either we bounce or we break down and then you don't want to be in it anymore, and then we can either go down or reclaim and then go up. And you want to be buying this and you want to be buying this. And you can see, like, if it invalidates, it's going to invalidate you once, and then you either get to buy really cheap or you get to buy the same level that you've bought before, just on the upswing, right? So for me, it makes sense to be looking for buys. That said, the reason why I've been selling is that we ran into weekly resistance, right? And the bounce been anything but strong. Momentum's been completely shit. I mean, I can turn off a log chart to kind of show you what I mean. it's been constant selling, and the first green candle that got everyone euphoric about the bottom again is a tiny one in comparison to the red candles that we've had, right? So momentum's completely shit, and we ran into resistance, and I saw like on Twitter people actually like starting to turn bullish again and all that kind of stuff into resistance, and I don't like that, right? Momentum stalls, the S&P kind of approaches resistance, and then you run into a level like this. I just didn't want to hold anymore, right? So I sold. But given that we have monthly support here, right, I'm going to be buying any bullish setup that I can get. And I think if we fall further down, like if this is a bearish retest like we've had here and here, I probably still want to be buying 34. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I probably want to be buying this box somewhere here, right? Somewhere in those lines. To take another stab at 42, 46, because I think that would make sense to go to 42 or 46, just to shake out the late bears. Doesn't have to though, because we've retested the support so many times that at some point it has to give. I just don't think that's yet, but we'll see. So for me, high time frames bullish, first test of monthly support, that's something you want to be buying. So I'm looking for weekly setups to buy into. Weekly resistance really isn't a weekly setup that I want to buy into. That's why I sold. And I'm going to be buying the support again, and I'm going to hold through resistance the next time. So if we fall, which isn't guaranteed, but if we do, I'm going to be looking for buys here. Hope that it bounces, and if it bounces, I'm not going to sell 38k again. I'm hoping for 43 or 46, right? So that's kind of my plan. Possibility is obvious. We go back down and then we just completely nuke. I don't think if we fall below 31 that we'll stop at 28 or whatever almost everyone on Twitter has been targeting. I think that's not something I want to be buying. Could be wrong, obviously. Could stop at 28, but the thing is, I'd much rather, like, why did I draw it and not do this? Like, let's say it stops at 28, right? I don't mind missing the first like 4k, right? This move, if I can just buy the momentum and then take it into 46. This move, these 40% are much more valuable to me than these 18% are. So that's kind of my idea. Hope that makes sense. Pretty straightforward. Market looks like shit though. This is a bearish range for now. So you gotta be a little bit careful and pick your battles wisely, right? And that's what I've been doing. That's why I just trade level to level and look for high time frame setups. I love your accent. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. It's something I cannot get rid of, no matter how long I speak English. But I've embraced it. The thing is, like, given that I talk to myself on stream a lot, it's really hard to get rid of it, because the only way to really get rid of it is by talking with other people that have other accents. So it's something I'm stuck with, basically. What's a good return on NFTs? I mean, good return is 10x to sky's the limit, right? But I mean, NFTs, in my mind, most of them are gonna go down 99% at some point. But I'm playing them regardless, and have been playing them just based on the fact that that's where all the volume is, that's where all the action is. So I don't really mind, right? It's the same with altcoins, really. Altcoins are gonna go, like most of the altcoins are gonna go down 95 to 99% as well. So there's no real big difference between besides not having an order book to dump into. Could you show us your long setup of the long you closed? I mean, I didn't really have a stop loss. It was a spot trade anyway, so it's not a long. But my original idea was basically this. Roughly like this. Roughly like this. And then just take that. And if we would have dropped, I wouldn't have stopped out here. I would have just been like, okay, my trade's been invalidated. I'm going to sell into the first bounce. Because I think it would have probably wiped out to like 20K, bounced to like 27, 28 maybe, and I would have sold into the first bounce or not stopped out, because that gets you in all sorts of trouble during these kind of candles. But there's not really, like when I spot trade, I don't really have to have the best risk reward or whatever, because I always buy at the extremes anyway. So if I'm buying, price has already gone down 50%, and I don't mind buying Bitcoin when it's down 50%. Even if it goes down another 50%, then I just buy more, right? It's not like that's the end of the world. Historically, 50% drawdowns on Bitcoin have been good buys. So I don't mind buying it and then just buying more when it goes further down and then reevaluating there. It's one of the things, like spot trading, I don't mind averaging down. Because at the end of the day, I don't think this disappears, right? I don't think Bitcoin goes away. Trend is, if you wait long enough, up. It's just money lying around at that point. Opportunity cost is obviously high in that instance, right? Let's say you buy 30K, it goes to 20. That's going to take a long time to recover. So your money is stuck. So I try to avoid it. But if I fuck up and can't avoid it, and this happened here as well, I bought 4K, big time. And then, I mean, I bought a shitload more at the actual lows or near the lows. But still, like these first buys, it took like 130 days for them to break even, right? And that was opportunity cost. I could have put that money elsewhere, but didn't really mind, because I thought Bitcoin at 4K was a decent price to buy. That's why. But it all depends on kind of your idea of what a good price is and how low you're going to be able to hold. Because, I mean, I know that if I buy 30K and it goes to 14K, I'll have the balls to buy more at 14K. Not entirely sure about every one of you guys. Who told you to get rid of it? What do you mean? Why I sold my Bitcoin long, or like Bitcoin long, my Bitcoin buys? I bought support and I sold resistance. It's as simple as that. And I'm going to buy support again, and I'm going to sell resistance again. Either one of those two. Just how I trade when the markets go choppy like this, right? You don't want to be the guy that bottom longs. When a market is trading like this, right? It just goes sideways. You don't want to be the guy that necessarily bets on this or this happening. Wish I draw it. Let's actually move this a little bit. Right? Market goes sideways. You don't want to be the guy that bets on a breakout or breakdown during this entire range. Because let's say you shorted here, betting on the breakdown, it came back to you 3 times. And there's a huge chance that you would have capitulated on any of those times. And in general, opportunity cost and sitting there is pretty high, right? You want to be the guy in a range when it goes like this to bet on it not breaking out or breaking down. Because that guy sits there and trades the range and gets like 1 trade in, maybe even reverses the trade, 2 trades, 3 trades, maybe 4 trades. And then at some point you're like, okay, this range is so old, I don't want to trust it anymore. But that guy has so much more success than the guy that bets on up or down, because there's a chance if you're betting on down that it actually goes up instead. So let's say you shorted the first circle and then it actually breaks out. You have a losing trade even though you shorted the top, just because you kind of misunderstood in what environment Bitcoin was. So you kind of have to figure that out. For me, it's still sideways. So makes no sense to do anything but buying support, selling resistance. Once we break 30K to the downside, it changes a little bit, obviously. Then you want to be the guy that sells bounces until you reclaim 30K again. Which sounds weird, right? But I told you guys, 14K is the next support if we break 30. And I think that's legitimately true. So that does mean that if we break 30, go to 20, you want to not necessarily be the guy that buys 20. You want to be the guy that sells 28 and bets on lower. And then at some point, once you hit high time frame support, right, because we're in a bear market at that point, you want to be buying the high time frame support because you'd be an idiot not to buy it, because crypto as a whole has been going down up, and you don't want to be betting against that. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. Buy high time frame support. This is monthly support, untested. We established it here. Haven't really tested it, right? So if we round out here, you could easily go 46-ish, and then either you continue up or you continue back down. If we continue back down at that point, high time frame wise, I wouldn't want to buy it again, right? Because at that point, the range is old, and you generally, when you have a range, and the market basically ranges like this and then goes up and cannot reach the other side of the range before falling back down, that's usually a sign of weakness, right? You get negative market structure, you made a lower high, and that often precedes moves to the downside, right? So if we bounce and then fall back down, you don't want to be buying this again. If we bounce all the way to 60K, you do want to be buying 30K again, because the market structure isn't necessarily broken. It's been long enough between the touches that you can trust it again. But you don't want to be, when you have a support that gets tested like this, there's no way you want to be buying this, right? If you have a support that's tested like this with like ages in between, that's not necessarily the worst idea. Get that? Hope it makes sense. That's kind of how I treat these things anyway. What's the projects you're bullish on long term? Bitcoin, basically. ETH, maybe. Bitcoin. That's it. I wouldn't want to bet on anything long term other than those two. I don't really see... Like, the thing is, people are here saying ETH is shitty. Buy Solana instead, right? Not realizing that in 5 years' time, someone else is going to come up with something that's going to be better than Solana. And then they're going to say the same thing, right? And so you're holding Solana long term because you're like, okay, this is the next best thing. But if you hold it for 10 years, there's a good chance that Solana already kind of pushed, like got thrown by the new best thing. And then the new best thing comes, it's a mess. So long term for me, I mean, if you want to bet on anything long term, bet on Bitcoin. That's going to be the easiest one. Everything else is just long term in the sense of a year or two easy. You can bet on anything for a year or two. But for the next 5 or 10 years, I would not want to. So, yeah. Do you lift weights, Don? Like, from time to time, but I usually go climbing more than I lift weights. Like, if I get too heavy, I can't climb anymore. So... not really in the business of getting super mega buff, just trying to balance my climbing out a little, at least right now. So yeah, that's that. I think pretty straightforward. ETH has been moving to the upside actually, which is very nice. We've had a few days of bounce, right? You might be wondering why, and I attribute a lot of this to the NFT mania. So we had a massive, for the people that don't give a shit about NFTs, and I really like. It's kind of sad to see, because I usually take some time to get to like new stuff, and I was shit talking NFTs, and I mean I still am early on for the first NFT season, right? So basically. NFTs came around, didn't do shit, and then they had a massive rally in which I was like, okay, this is just it's just stupid, and I still think most of this NFT stuff is stupid. But then they had a pullback, and I was like, wait, like this pullback is more constructive than I thought it was, and I could see like it bubbling again, right? And then what we are having right now is basically the second leg, right? So we had the first leg, and I know like some people are gonna come around and be like, hey, there were many more legs. Before this first leg, the leg that you're mentioning, but those were tiny in comparison, right? Volume and users and everything, tiny, right? So we had 2 major legs so far. I took advantage of the second leg. I could see it, like there be a third leg at some point, like the next pullback. leading to a third leg that is a little bit smaller, and then maybe tops out the cycle of NFTs. But yeah, I think in general, if you disregard something as stupid, and then you see it make it, like it pulls back, and you're like, haha, I'm vindicated. But you see strength creep in, and you don't get involved. I think you're kind of self-sabotaging yourself, right? But in general, what's been happening is that a bunch of people have been buying big time in NFTs, and they need ETH for that. And I think that's why we've had some positive price action on ETH. Still, market structure-wise, still kind of looks like trash, right? We'll see how the NFT mania kind of impacts this. I'm not too sold on it, to be fair. But I could see, like, if the NFT craze goes on for another month or two, I could see that lift ETH out. That's just too strong of a fundamental kind of backdrop for ETH to do too poorly. But right now, still not looking too good on the ETH front. Then again, if you have all your money in NFTs, your ETH USD value is going to go down, but your NFT's been going up, so you're quite happy. That's kind of how I have been doing or dealing with this crash. I've been talking about this on stream ever since we broke 4K, basically, being like, I should have sold, but I didn't want to get rid of my liquid NFTs. ETH dropped by 50% almost from the 4K drop, from the 4K break, right? And it's just, I mean, right now it's not that much, but it's 30% down, and I'm up multiples on my ETH anyway in USD. So kind of nuts. We've been in a bear market, or at least a really, really rough one, and NFTs haven't cared. Do you only play support resistance? No. I play support resistance when we're in a range. And for me, this is all rangey behavior, so I'm playing support resistance. When you're not in a range, I try not to focus too much on support resistance. I just try to play the trend more. Doesn't always work, but yeah, that's kind of the goal behind it all. In general, on ETHUSD, I think this is the range, this entire thing. So if we dip into like 1.7, maybe 2K, I think that's a buy for pretty much the exact same thing that I explained earlier with Bitcoin. Either like a bounce into 2.4, 2.5, or just trend continuation. And then if it doesn't continue but falls back down, you want to get out of the way and let it do its thing. This doesn't look good. It's just like ETHUSD really does not look good. This is basically a crash with two consolidation candles, and the basics of the basics are basically that this is not something you want to be seeing after a crash. And that's what we're putting in here. So not too excited about ETHUSD, which kind of has implications for my Bitcoin thesis. Not too excited about that chart either. It's a little bit better though. So yeah. Well, we aren't going to break 30K. Dude, the funny part is maybe we won't, right? People like you have been in my comments since I've been bearish since 60K, right? Like, you can go back. There's like a really good video when we're trading at the 60K support where I outlined my plans on what to do, which have maintained to be the exact same since then, right? Like 1-to-1. You just go back to the video that I made when we're trading at 59K after this red candle, right? It's still on the channel, so you can watch it. And people were like saying you're delusional if you think we're going back to the range low, which is 33K. And here we are, we're at 33K, right? It's always, I don't know, like I get these comments, and obviously I'm going to be wrong at some point. And I'm not even necessarily saying we're going to break 30K, right? But I'm going to be wrong at some point. But the thing is, like, I'm right 5 times and get these comments, and then the commenters disappear, obviously. And then I'm wrong once or twice, and I never hear the end of it. It's frustrating as fuck. But for me, yeah, this is a downtrend, right? So you have to kind of expect it to go down. until it reverses the trend. And I don't really give a shit about like your opinion or even mine, because my gut feeling tells me, okay, we should probably break this, right? But it doesn't really matter what my gut says at this instance, because I just trade level to level, and I trade according to the plan that I've laid out ages ago. So it doesn't really matter what it does until it breaks levels that I've said, okay, I don't want to see broken or whatever, right? So there you go. What you're basically doing is, haha, it's never going to break 30K because 30K is cheap for Bitcoin. And I'm saying this is a stupid kind of argument to make, because we've seen supports break that we didn't think should be broken. And just because you think it's like a good support or whatever is a stupid argument to say, okay, it's not going to break that. There's always a chance that we break down. There's always a chance that we go up. We're playing a poker game where you kind of have to gauge your chances, right, on whether this goes up or down, and then you bet on it. And if you're like, this is never going to happen, you're always going to go broke. It's just how it is. Not sure why you bother responding to dumb comments. I mean, I think like there's gonna be one of these people that is going to be like open enough to say it in chat and kind of embarrass themselves, and then there's like 100 that are going to watch that are going to think the same thing, right? And it's just the wrong way to think about markets. So I like to mention it, because at the end of the day, this is all chances, right? If you don't look at this, like if you look at this with certainty in your eyes, you're gonna lose money trading. It's just how it is. There's no certainties. There's only chances. And yeah, if I see dumb comments like that, I know that there's a bunch of people sitting there kind of silently agreeing. And I think it's a good learning moment, if anything. Like most people won't care, but maybe I reach like 10 people that think about markets in the wrong way by explaining it. Okay, Jesus Christ. If you like spam questions, I'm 100% not going to answer them, and I'm 100% going to block you from the channel, because fucking hell. Like, imagine spamming the chat with the same question 10 times. But yeah, that's Bitcoin, that's ETH. We went over those. I actually really hoped that Tezos would dump more today. I've been buying Tezos. Just to, like, I've been talking about this for a while, so you should probably know, but I've been trying to get into Tezos to buy NFTs. Finally got some, didn't get as much because it's just not dumped today, which is kind of sad. Everything else is down, or not everything, but a bunch is down. Tezos is not. So yeah, bought a bit of this to play NFTs. Gonna see how it goes. Don't copy trade me on this. I think NFTs outside the ETH ecosphere are even worse than the ones on ETH. Much worse, actually. But I don't know. I've had success on ETH, and I want to try my hand at another ecosystem, kind of learn by doing. Already looked into it a bunch, and so yeah, that's what I've been doing. So yeah. Kind of sad that this has not been going down more, but I don't mind. My position can stay small. So yeah. What Tezos NFTs are you into? I haven't fully bought, so I'm not gonna share yet anyway. But I'll share eventually. I've learned my lesson. I've shared my Doge trade at 15 sats, never got fully filled, and then it went from 15 sats to 1 million, and I sat there, hands in pockets, crying. So I've learned my lesson. Hope you're well done. Can you give us your thoughts on 4-hour, 1-day time frame, please? Sure. So Bitcoin bounced from support, right? We've talked about this. This is the best support that we've got. Pretty much sliced right through at the bottom of the support, it bounced, right? A bunch of people asked me, why did you buy like 33? There's a good reason for it. One, down that support here, and then like I explained before, there's a bunch of stuff that happened on exchanges down there that I find interesting. And basically what we've been doing is it's been a grind up. Anyone you ask in any other market will tell you that this is like flagging and then it's going to have another leg to the downside, right? I'm not as bearish. I'm going to buy if it breaks down, but I'm not going to say you, okay, it's going to tell you it's going to break down 100%. But it's basically, it's a, like now it's starting to flag. Someone told me it's like a bullish pennant or something. I can't even draw that. Sometimes I get confused by the comments that I get. Like if you want to put a classical chart pattern on it, it's pretty clear that this is like the bearish flag, but it doesn't really matter. For me, if this breaks to the downside, you want to be buying support again. So like 34, let's say we close at 34, that'd be an excellent buy, I think, unless traditional markets go to shit. But betting on that hasn't really paid off for anyone, right? Every time people start looking at the S&P and how bearish it is, somehow always at the bottoms, right? So yeah, in general, I think this is no man's land anywhere between here. If it goes to 40K, you probably want to sell. If it goes to 30K or like 33K, you want to buy. So buy here, sell here, makes sense. I sold earlier based on weekly resistance, but that's that. Okay. But there's not that much to it. And on ETH, I actually haven't even looked at the daily. Like you can see that like this is, I don't even look at it. Because this doesn't really matter. I mean, it bounced from support, but meh. If you want to make something, it bounced from support to resistance, right? But I don't really care about this too much, just based on the fact that the entire market is driven by the weekly time frame right now. So if you want to make low time frame plays, you can see how nice this responded. This is the obvious support, right? It's just the previous high of the range. And this is the obvious resistance, right? So, I mean, at least it's working, but yeah, I'm not in it to trade that around. But there's something there at least. Don, how long do you think we can go sideways? I think like for 2 years more-ish. So yeah, that's that. Oh man. I would like to talk about other coins, right? But Jesus fuck, my watch list, I get bullied for my watch list anyway, and I haven't looked at like almost any of this. I honestly think, and I mean people are going to hate me for saying this, right? But I honestly think 2018 we had coin all season, right? So we had Bitcoin parabolic, almost went back in time, was that bullish, right? Then it broke down, bounced, and then we had a massive alt season during this bounce, right? Which was basically all the coins, right? So coins, all coins mooned here, right? Now, what we've had now is a little bit different, which is we've had a massive rally, crashed, bounced massively, and are now back here, right? This is how the big Bitcoin structure. I don't know why I'm drawing this on ETH. Doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And now, like, the interesting part is, and the altcoins mooned during the down part of this as well, right? Now, what we've been having during this leg is that NFT's been mooning big time, right? And we're doing basically this. So altcoins moon on this and that part, right? Now we have NFTs mooning. You kind of get where I'm getting with this, I'm sure. Like the faster ones of you guys, right? But what it feels like to me is that all the retail attention and everything that was used to kind of cheat people out of their coins during the 2018 bear market, because Bitcoin actually went mega low and altcoins went even lower. That we had, like, all of that kind of shifted to NFTs. So I think there is a world, and I mean, I hate to say it, right? But I think there's a world in which all these coins don't move, or just move like a few percent here and there. And the entire alt season that we had back then is happening in NFT land, and then everything crashes and the coins get doubly fucked because they never went up. NFTs obviously get fucked, and Bitcoin gets fucked as well. That's kind of my inkling right now, that we're gonna have NFT season instead of alt season, and that everything else, like that, we're gonna get fucked afterwards. That's kind of my inkling for the altcoins. Could I be wrong? 100%. I mean, I've been wrong on altcoins before. Right now, like, my bet has been paying off. I've made a bunch of money on NFTs. Already got more than my initial back out again, and still up multiples. So, like, I don't really mind being wrong, but yeah. Best case scenario would obviously be we get NFT season and then altcoins start looking bullish, and we get an alt season to round it all out. But not entirely sure we're gonna get that. So yeah, that's kind of my view. Hate to say it. Hope I'm wrong. Hope we get, the best case would really be NFT season and it ends and it crashes and altcoins go up. That would be fucking sick. I just, like, if I think about, like, how do you onboard noobs or like people new to the space better with coins or with NFTs, I think NFTs just flat out win. And I mean, when you have to pick between like a shitty JPEG and Dogecoin, you're almost always gonna pick a shitty JPEG, right? So I don't know. We'll see. Have we not basically had an alt season for the whole time? We kind of had, yeah, a bunch of coins. We didn't really. If you've lived through 2018, you wouldn't say it's been an alt season. It's definitely been the time to trade altcoins, but only a select few, right? If you've been sitting in the wrong altcoins, you haven't had a single movement, right? I mean, I can go through this list, right? If you've sat in BSV, it's been down only. If you sit in Bitcoin Cash, down only. Wi-Fi, a little bit of a bounce, but this has been down only since September 20 as well. I can go through this list, Litecoin, entire, like everything in this list, besides maybe ADA, has been down only, right? And Zcash, same thing. All of the people that have been sitting in these altcoins, and I mean, there's a few, have all lost money relative to Bitcoin. So it's not really been alt season, but some altcoins have been doing really well. And what I think a lot of people are hoping for is basically that their altcoin is going to get their spot in the sun. That's how 2018 played out, right? If you just held long enough, at some point your altcoin got the money injection. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to happen again. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, that's that. Hope I'm wrong, man. I would love to see NFTs rotate into altcoins. That would be so sick. So yeah. What about XRP? I'm still hoping for an XRP pump, but I mean, right now, even if XRP 5x, right? I mean, there's money to be made in the NFTs that is multiples of that, right? So I don't really see the point. I could, if there's a positive development on the XRP front, lawsuit-wise, I could see that shift a lot of the money back into altcoins. But right now, chart-wise, just looks like shit. So I'm not gonna get involved. I only buy stuff when it looks good. And this, we talked about this last week when it was chilling at support. And it's like, this is the typical kind of this pattern, right? I mean, I'm not buying that. So yeah, you just basically buy the news at this point on XRP. I'm not getting involved before, unless I see bullish price action kind of front running the news. So is ADA gonna die? No idea, man. It's not one coin. Like it's not. I don't like ADA. We talked about it actually at resistance, if you guys remember, 2 weeks ago, where I was like, this is bearish retest, fell back down. But the thing is, like, I don't like ADA. I'm not a fan. I think it's gonna go down, but the price action on this has been wild, right? You don't want to fade the stuff that's been strong, but fucking hell, do I dislike ADA. So, did you talk about the S&P already? Nope. So S&P wise, there's this that we're dealing with. One, we're running into range low. It's kind of funny that like the crypto sphere got bullish when like the moment we retested this weekly resistance, right? So you can make a case that's either this as resistance or this up here. I don't mind. You can use either one or both, but we're at resistance right now. Doesn't really matter too much. I don't want to draw like lines on the S&P, just based on the fact that it's not as clean as Bitcoin is. That said, like we saw this wipeout below the lows and then the moon. It's been trading relatively well technically, right? So it's at resistance. I wouldn't want to be too bearish. I wouldn't want to be bullish. That's kind of all I'm gonna say. If the S&P goes up, we're gonna have at least some strength in crypto, like some underlying strength. The problem is the S&P. Look at this, right? This has been today. It's literally been going sideways, right? And this is Bitcoin. It's broken down, right? So there's relative weakness in Bitcoin, which is a bad sign, I think. So you have NFT mania, while Bitcoin cannot even follow the S&P. That's a weak combination, in my opinion. So not too excited about that. I don't really see a point why I should be trading this unless it's at high time frame support. So I just don't. I concentrate on better things. What do you think about Chainlink? Meh. I accidentally reordered my list, so I cannot find anything. But Chainlink is just boring. I don't see a point trading Chainlink. Look at this. Meh. It's so choppy. And when it's choppy, right? In crypto, when something's choppy, it's usually bearish. And then when it starts trending again, or like in general, in altcoins, choppiness is usually bearish and clean trends are usually bullish. So this is choppy, and I mean it is somewhat of a trend, but like I'd much rather trade Bitcoin over Litecoin. That too, but over Link. What am I gonna do with this chart, right? Nothing. Pretty boring. Not really interesting. I don't see the point. This is one of the ones where if I gave you serious analysis, it would be, okay, this could go up or down, because I have no fucking idea. Looks bearish to me. Probably more down than up, but I would not bet on it. I wouldn't bet any sum on it, because like there's zero you can do with a chart like this, and fundamentally wise, it's way above my head. Thoughts on Nia? I haven't actually looked at it. I've just been basically the only things that I've looked at. It's not bad. Nia, it's not good at. It's not good, but it's not bad. It's more good than bad. The only stuff that I've really been looking at is NFT platforms, just because I think there's a little bit more fuel left on the NFT craze, and seeing that ETH is going up during, like ETH BTC is going up when the NFTs are running hot, just makes me think that I want to be buying the coins that have NFTs, that offer NFTs. So as much as I hate it, it's probably like XTC, so Tezos, Solana. Funnily enough, some of the coins that are like leased, but who cares? And similar. There's a bunch of others. There's a bunch of really interesting layer 2. stuff out there as well, but I've not gone deep enough to give any advice on that. But that's kind of been that's a narrative that I could see come to fruition, but not entirely sure. I just bet a little bit of house money on it. But yeah, near TA wise, this is also choppy, right? But it's a coin that's been showing strength, and there's not been any invalidation. So if you're holding it, and there's not been a reason to sell, in my opinion. If you're looking for an entry, really difficult, because I just suck at trading stuff like this. It's at support, or it bounced from support, right? But there's a choppy support. It's not necessarily like a good one. So it's not really something I can help you much with, other than saying trend is up. If you're holding it and you want to keep holding it, there's no real reason to sell yet, at least from like what I can see technical wise. Do you think the wash trading on Look will lead to a dump? No, I think once Looks unlocks the tokens of all the influencers, I think it's gonna dump. Maybe even a little bit before, but I don't think the wash trading necessarily will make it dump. Because what people are doing is they're wash trading so they can get more looks, so they can stake it, because you get your money back basically. So what people are doing is they're wash trading so they get looks, so they can stake it to get their money back from the wash trading, which is like just a pretty nice Ponzi that's going on there. And what the Lux platform is basically trying to do is get people to use it, stay in the news cycle until it's kind of established a little bit more. Wait for an OpenSea fuck up, which OpenSea's granted a lot of those, and then try to take market share away from OpenSea during the campaign that they're running, which is basically paying people to buy and sell NFTs on their platform. So no, and like no to your answer, and I think it's actually like a pretty smart play. It's a vampire attack, right? You gotta do like stuff like that. You gotta convince people to come on, and if they can kind of stop the wash trading and incentivize actual users even better than what they've been doing, I think there's gonna be even more interest in the platform, which would be good for the holders. And then once it's closer to that 6 months unlock time, I think you want to get out of the way, at least of the token. You can still use the platform. Atom feels double top. Yeah, Atom I shared a while ago. Like I bought Atom, right? So what I did, I bought Atom on the nuke because I was like, I'm gonna buy at least one altcoin. I'm really annoyed with my decision, by the way. I bought Atom over Tezos because I wanted to buy the stronger one, right? But I had like an underlying thesis for Tezos, right? So I should have bought Tezos instead, but I decided for Atom when it nuked. Got a really nice entry. It bounced and then it just faded out. I sold somewhere like into this red candle, or it's somewhere in this one. Didn't really make any profit, right? Really annoyed by that because I could have gotten the XTC trade that I wanted. Instead had to chase it up a little bit, right? So yeah, that's a mistake on my behalf. But yeah, I sold this and I don't really plan on getting back into it because it's back below the range high. And while it's trading below there, I don't really see a point. I'm gonna trade the narratives. Should have done so anyway, and could be wrong on that front. I don't have a horse in the race right now. If it goes up, nice. I have a bunch of friends that hold it. If it goes down, okay, cool. Maybe I get to buy it lower. So yeah, that's that. Don, how do noobs get into NFTs? I don't know where to start. Join Discords, man. For example, Moon Overlord on Twitter. I think that's like just Moon Overlord, like put together, normally written, has like a Discord with like, I don't know, 20,000 people in it that discusses NFTs. I've been in there observing, and it's decent what they put out. You can kind of chat in there. And then in general, like you look into a project, you join the Discord, you kind of chat with them, and then you learn what people like, what they don't like, and do that kind of stuff. Starting to like feel, so basically NFT cycle wise, we've broken the all-time highs and we're already in the middle of this second big leg, right? I have no idea how high that's gonna go. We could be nearing the top. It's running pretty hot. So I think if you're researching NFTs, what you want to be doing is, so basically how crypto works, or markets in general oftentimes that run hot, they do something like this, right? So you have a first leg, you have a bigger second leg. So if I turn this off, log, it's pretty much correct. So you have a first leg, everyone's just like, and this was me as well, this is boring shit, this is just complete garbage. And then you have the second leg, which changes people's minds. And then you have the third leg where people buy in, and in size, the first one is a small one, the second one is a big one, and the third one is a small one again, usually. And then you get a breakdown. And the reason for this is just basic market psychology, right? And this is something that I'm sure a lot of you will kind of experience as well. You see something new come up, you think it's stupid, it goes up. It goes down, you feel vindicated. And then it starts rallying again, and you're like, fuck. And this is what almost everyone does wrong. And this is something that you have to work on if you want to be a successful trader, right? So you're like, fuck, I missed out. I could have bought the dip, I didn't. Oh well, not gonna buy now, it's way too high. And what then happens, it dips again, and you've learned your lesson, right? You've learned your lesson to buy the dip. And then you buy the dip and you get completely fucked. So what you have to do instead, in my opinion, and this is how I treat markets always, is you either try to catch it all, right, which is fine, or, and this is the same with Ponzi's, for example, like these ones, like, I don't know how to pronounce it, these ones, right? If I see positive actions on those, again, it's gonna be the second leg of it. So I'm gonna try to get in on the second leg. And this is something that I do well, which is capitalize on the second leg. I don't mind too much about catching the third one, but I try to catch this one. And so what you have to try to do basically is fight yourself. You think something's a Ponzi, and then it pulls back down. And once you realize that you kind of, I've been right, you actually look into the thing that you're making fun of. If you don't do that, you're almost always going to miss the second leg. And if you miss the second leg, you're almost always going to FOMO chase the third one and get completely wrecked. So if you're not willing to put in the time, and I mean, I've seen this in my DMs, I've seen this everywhere, where people are like, okay, I underestimated NFTs, I have none, I'm looking to buy now, whatever. And we're in the middle of the second leg, right? So I mean, you can still buy and try to make it, but you're gonna have to be like quick and then get out quick as well, which is pretty difficult on the NFT front. But I think we're in the second leg. There might be a third one at some point. So I'm probably gonna trade that as well, but I will know that I don't want to be buying the dip afterwards. Basically my point. So yeah, that's that. It's just something that people do wrong in crypto always. Took me a while to get to that point as well. Like, you see a pump, you're like, this is just garbage, this is shit, this is a bullshit pump. And then you see the retrace and you feel vindicated. Every time you feel vindicated after a retrace, it's something you should look into. So yeah, that's that. Let me see what you guys have been writing. We don't invest in Ponzi, we invest in good coins. Isn't that the same thing? GM Gents, the stream hours are all over the place. Where can I find the day when it starts? I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but difficult for some of us to plan. So usually it's always 19 UTC, and I'm pretty punctual usually. I think there's been like 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 times that I've deviated from that in the 2 years of streaming that I've done. But yeah, you can just watch it not live. I don't think there's anything that you lose just watching it an hour later. It's not a big deal. I always appreciate the live viewers, but you'll be fine. And sometimes I just can't make it. For example, today, like I couldn't work out if I didn't do it. I'm gonna have to like get up really early in the morning tomorrow to help a friend move. So yeah, it's just I had to move it. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. My investments are with good Ponzi's. That will be back. Wi-Fi. Yeah, Wi-Fi is actually like started to look really interesting. It's back at the support that we talked about. There's a setup to be had, right? If you want to be trading coins, the setup is a decent one, but it's quite risky, I think. I think there's like a 60% chance that it breaks down and a 40% chance, or like maybe even less than that it reaches the target. So this one's a little bit risky. I would not mind to see it wipe out and then come back, and then it's a little bit less risky because then your stop loss up here and your target is up there, and you can take profit into the highs if you want to. So yeah, Wi-Fi, like my narrative is going to be focused on the NFT stuff. And I could be completely wrong with that, is what it is, right? When you have a strong narrative that is not really popular, that you want to follow, like you're either really right or really wrong. And I'm not going to put too much money into it. I'm going to survive if I'm wrong. Again, late from my end. We'll rewatch it. Yeah, I'm sorry about today. I should have given more of a heads up. Wait, is your friend that you're helping to move tomorrow named Caleb? Nope. Nice try though. So yeah, that's that. Anything else? I don't want to chart any more coins. I think we've talked about enough. Any other fundamental questions or like trading related questions that everyone can kind of take something from? Otherwise, I'll call it a day and go climbing because I've been waiting for it. Hey Don, do you look at weekly closes differently since they happen during the weekend and weekend PA is different from weekly PA? It's a good question. The thing is, the weekly closes, for some reason, have been really accurate, right? People are like, the weekends are fake, whatever. And I do agree that like late Friday and early Saturday and late Saturday are like bullshit price action a lot. The thing is, Sunday usually gets it back in check. And you can see how accurate these closes have been, right? I mean, this one tagged the resistance. But in general, like the weekly closes have been quite nice to trade with. So I just do it. For me, Sunday isn't bullshit price action. Friday and Saturday usually are, but Sunday, rarely. Any good exchanges with fast deposits for fiat? I mean, you can check out the sponsor of the show, which is FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio, if you wanna deposit money. Funny thing is, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I actually, like my brother called me being like, I want to buy Bitcoin, basically at support down here. And I told him, if you want to buy, use FTX. And he did, so. Funny thing is, like he bought basically, I think like somewhere at like 37 or something, because he had to wait. Like he just registered late, got the app, but didn't put money on it early enough. So I wanted to buy 33, it bounced. And then he got money on it and he bought 38, which I pretty much exactly sold, which is kind of hilarious. So the money is going to stay in the family, even though I'm not entirely sure if he bought as much as I sold. But yeah. So yeah, you should. I think FTX is actually excellent for like spot stuff. The Blockfolio, formerly known as Blockfolio app thingy, not necessarily. You don't want to get FTX Pro. Like I said, I don't think most of you guys should be leverage trading. Nice plug, thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's actually the truth, though. It's just the truth. Scary part is, what if we're in the third and final cycle for Bitcoin, like what you've drawn for NFTs? I mean, then it goes down, and then we buy support, and it goes back up. It's just how it is. If you're expecting Bitcoin to disappear, you're dead wrong. If you're expecting it to be unable to reach supports that you cannot even fathom, you're probably wrong as well. Like, I did not think we'd go back to 4K, and then we did. I don't think we're going back to 14K. I could see us go there though. Like, if you don't have that in your mind, that there's a possibility that it happens, you're gonna be surprised if it does happen, and then you're gonna shit your pants and sell the bottom instead of loading up big time. Because if it goes to 14K, you wanna buy big, because it's gonna go back to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100K. Not saying it's going to happen, because I think the chances of that happening are really small. But if it does happen, like, why would you not want to be buying? And if you never thought about it happening before it does happen, you're almost always going to do the wrong choice. But yeah, like, if you're sitting here being bearish till 14K, I think you're just delusional as well. Be that when we trade below 28K or whatever, then fine by me. And even then, I think we're going to bounce from 20K, have like a sizable bounce. So what do we do with the dinosaur coins we have invested in? Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, XLM, do we sell them off? I cannot give you good advice on that front. Because the thing is, would I short, like, that's how I always explain this. Would I short this? Fuck no. Fuck no, I would not short this, right? I would not touch this. It's like, it's down so much, who the fuck knows where this is gonna go, right? Is it bearish? 100%. This is one of the most bearish charts in crypto, right? But I would not want to be shorting this, because there's no real setup for it. There's no real, like, this could bounce 100% and still be lower than it was like a year ago. And then what? So there's no good answer for you there. I'm sorry. Like, and that's why having the fundamentals of trading locked down is so important, because if you bought this and you ever wanted to sell it, right, you should have been looking for like lower highs and stuff. You should have been looking for, this is something that I had like a chart about, where I was like, this is the bear zone where the bears live. I don't know if any of you guys are been around this long, but I had like this chart that said, okay, here are the bears, you get through that, the fucking moon it, but this is where you're careful, right? And then we broke down, and then we made it lower high and rejected here, right? So this is where you have the easy sell, right? You're invested in this thing, you have it's still gonna be difficult, but it's the sell that makes sense, right? And then you have like an entry and exit kind of plan. Here, like, I could tell you, okay, you can sell this, but I mean, are you gonna FOMO back in if it goes up 50%? Because it could. And I cannot give good advice on that front. I'm sorry. It is something you have to figure out yourself. Because, yeah, I think a lot of these coins will disappear. So, I mean, if you get a massive bounce that goes up 100% or something, would I sell if I back held this the entire way? 100%. I mean, be hilarious if this just bounced strong, pulled back, and then did what we've been talking about, and then went down. Right? But who the fuck knows? I don't. I cannot tell the future. I think it's one of the weaker ones, and you want to be buying the strong ones. But if you're already in position, it's really hard to call. Your best call was Dogecoin at 15 sats, mate? Yeah, well, I mean, I bought a little bit, but you you assholes all front ran me. And then I was like completely tilted, because my order that I waited for a couple of years for go front ran, and then I was like, fuck this, I'm not gonna deal with this. It's gonna come back, and then it never did, and still coping to this day. So nah, it's fine. It shit happens. But yeah, that was a good call. Not well traded on my part. I still made money. I still made good amount of money on that trade. But not even a fraction of what I should have made. So yeah, that's that. I think we've talked enough. I don't want to bore you guys on a Wednesday evening or Wednesday midday or whatever it is for you. And I want to go climbing. So appreciate you guys coming by. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a sponsor that supports the show. It's called FTX. If you want to check that sponsor out, support the show, support them. Links to them are in the description. If not, that's also fine. Appreciate your support. Appreciate their support. And thanks for coming by. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.